Good morning. Today I'm going to explain the main aspects of our research project titled The Lack of Grammar Retention and the Effect of Instructional Methods of Beginner English Learners. This research focuses on a common problem in English as of reading language classrooms. Many students learn grammar rules during class, but after some time they forget them and cannot use them correctly in real communication. This means that students have difficulties with long-term grammar retention. One possible reason for this problem is the teaching methods used in the classroom. In many cases, grammar is taught through memorization and isolated exercises instead of meaningful communication and real context. Because of this, students may remember the rules temporarily, but not in the long term. For the background of the study, we analyzed different investigations related to grammar teaching, attention, learning strategies, and language instruction. Several studies show that communicative and contextualist grammar teaching is more effective than traditional methods. For example, current colleagues found that students who learn grammar in context improve more than students who learn only through traditional grammar instruction. In addition, Sang and Dan discovered that task-based activities help students retain grammar more effectively and also make classes more interesting and motivating. Other studies focus on attention and learning strategies. Researchers such as Lopez and Reset explained that attention is very important for academic performance and memory retention. Some studies also show that motivation, technology, and interactive activities can improve English learning. However, despite all these studies, there is still limited research, especially focused on beginner English learners and how different teaching methods affect their long-term retention of grammar. This is the research gap our study wants to address. The main problem statement of this investigation is that beginner English learners often forget grammatical structures after instruction, especially when grammar is taught only through memorization. This affects their English proficiency, communication skills, and academic performance. The general objective of this study is to evaluate the effectiveness of grammar teaching strategies in promoting long-term retention of grammatical structures among beginner English learners. Some of our specific objectives are to identify the factors that influence grammar retention, to analyze the teaching methods most commonly used in beginner English classes, and to evaluate how different instructional approaches affect long-term grammar retention. Our study also includes several research questions. For example, how effective are grammar teaching strategies in promoting long-term retention? Which teaching methods are most commonly used with beginner learners? And what strategies help students remember and use grammar in real communication? Finally, this research is important because it can help teachers improve their instructional practices and help students learn grammar in a more meaningful and lasting way. We hope this study can contribute to more effective English teaching methods for beginner learners. Thank you.
Good morning. Following the introduction of our research topic, I will explain now the theoretical framework and the main theories that support our study about grammar retention and instructional methods in beginner English learners. First, our theoretical framework focuses on grammar learning in English as a foreign language context, also known as EFL context. In many EFL classroom, grammar teaching has changed over time. Traditional methods mainly focused on memorizing rules, while communicative approaches later focused more on interaction and language use. However, grammar continues to be an important part of language learning, especially for beginner learners. One important concept in our framework is second language acquisition or SLA. SLA studies how people learn a language different from their native language. According to Ellis and other researchers, SLA analyzes language learning in both natural and classroom activities. In EFL contexts, students usually have limited exposure to English outside classroom. Because of this, instructional methods become very important in helping students learn and retain grammatical structures over time. Our theoretical framework also includes important theories of grammar learning. The first theory is Noam Chomsky's universal grammar theory. Chomsky explains that humans are born with an innate ability to learn language. He proposed the idea of language acquisition device, which helps people naturally understand grammatical structures. Another important theory is Stephen Krashen's SLA theory. Krashen explains that language acquisition happens mainly through meaningful communication and comprehensible input instead of only memorizing grammar rules. He also proposed the affective filter hypothesis, which explains that factors such as anxiety, confidence, and motivation can affect language learning. In addition, another researcher Rod Ellis explains that grammar instruction continues to be important because it helps students understand how language works. According to Ellis, grammar learning is not only cognitive but also social because students learn through communication and interaction with others. Another important concept in our framework is grammar retention. Grammar retention refers to the ability to remember and correctly use grammatical structure over time. Different researchers explain that repetition, practice, and continued exposure to English are necessary for students to retain grammar successfully. Our framework also includes memory process in language learning. For example, Baddeley explains the importance of working memory and long-term memory. Working memory helps students process information while using language, while long-term memory stores grammatical knowledge for future communication. We also analyze why learners forget grammar. Studies show that students often forget grammatical structures when they do not practice English regularly or when grammar is taught only through memorization without meaningful communication. Finally, our theoretical framework examines different instructional methods. Traditional grammar teaching focuses mainly on memorization and repetition. In contrast, communicative language teaching focuses on interaction and meaningful communication. Another important approach is focused on form, where students pay attention to grammar while participating in communicative activities. However, empirical studies suggest that communicative and contextualized instruction can improve long-term grammar retention more effectively than traditional memorization methods. However, there are still research gaps. Many studies focus on advanced learners or short-term instruction, and there is limited research about beginner English learners and long-term grammar retention. For this reason, our study aims to analyze which instructional methods are more effective in helping beginner learners retain grammar over time. Thank you.